¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Ground Level News, welcome. Derry Bennett, Heat, how's it going? Welcome. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. 21 months. That's right. You can officially, legally drink on my stream. That's right. Oh, wait, no, this is a 2-for-1. I'm sorry. Whoa. We have Heat with a tier 1 sub for 28 months and Conscious Canuck with a tier 1 sub for 21 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Jeez. You guys are kicking things off very hot today. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Trans Awareness Week. That's right. Let's go indeed. Thank you so much. Jeez. Back-to-back sub. I wish I could get drunk because of current events. I feel that. Drinking at 21 months, your childhood must have been wild. 21, oh, that's right, it's 21 years, but I guess, I don't know. We'll make it make sense, okay? We will make it make sense. World Kindness Day, if only, right? That'd be nice. World Kindness Day should be every day. Yeah, muted. Sorry. You don't want to overdose on either one. Yeah, but it's I do politics, okay? So the doom is real, okay? Michael Hassler, how's it going? Yeah, I had a pro streamer moment, okay? I had a pro streamer moment. Sorry. Oh, bad news and liquor. Gotcha. Also, I learned how to vomit on Twitch, so I'm prepared for some of the personalities. Also, I learned how to vomit on Twitch, so I'm prepared for some of the personalities you comment on now. Oh man, funny you should say that. We do have a segment coming up. Funny you should say that. I'm glad you're ready this time. Glad you came prepared. Maddie the Crow, welcome. All right, folks, we gotta get the show on the road. What are your thoughts on Palestine? I mean, have you seen what's going on? Ali with the 12 biddies, thank you so much. It's horrible. It's horrifying. We'll talk a little, just a tiny bit, on that. Heat with the 13 biddies, stepping it up for one more. Thank you. You guys are on fire today. Snowman because it's cold outside. Well, it is a bit chilly today. It says it's 64 degrees outside, but it feels a lot colder than that, and it's gonna get colder and colder and colder as the next, few days, maybe the next week or so. I've yet to see the sun here in South New Mexico. Jeez.
If you think it's crazy that President Joe Biden continues to cozy up with the far right-wing government of Israel and the Republican position to allow Israel to do whatever the hell they want, You are not alone, even within Biden's own government, as 100 State Department officials have apparently internally raised a memo very concerned with Biden's position on Israel. So this scoop here from Axios, their headline, Internal State Department memo blasts Biden, U.S. policy on Israel-Hamas war. Going on to discuss here, the memo signed by 100 State Department and U.S. Agency for International Development employees urges senior U.S. officials to reassess their policy toward Israel and demand a ceasefire in Gaza. So I'm going to get to more context around this in a second because, 100 employees really isn't a whole lot, but compared to, previous memos, it's actually more than what we have seen with the recent example, but more in terms of what the memo actually states. So Biden has backed Israel's response while expressing concern about humanitarian issues in Gaza, but the memo says Biden should do more to question Israel's actions. Those actions, which have included cutting off electricity, limiting aid, and carrying out attacks that have displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, quote, all constitute war crimes and or crimes against humanity under international law.
Right. And we have yet to see a strong statement. What are your thoughts on Biden and Sanders' support for humanitarian? Well, it's not just Biden and Sanders. I think that a ceasefire is like the only... If a ceasefire can be negotiated, that should be priority number one. The default position of any person who cares about getting humanitarian aid is to the default position is to push for a ceasefire. I mean that's the only default position. If you're interested in getting humanitarian aid, then your default position should be to push for a ceasefire.
The memo alleges. I just got to pause here for a second. Part of the job of a news organization like Axios is to point out what is or isn't true. Sure, the memo is alleging that. You can then back up and say what the memo alleges is true. The UN chief has said clear violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza are being committed by Israel. And this isn't even just, this is about the recent events, but it isn't even just relegated to that. We're also talking about decades of violations of international law when we talk about settlements, when we talk about the blockade, the ongoing human rights violations, the apartheid. So yes, Israel is violating international law. That is a fact. No reason why Axios couldn't point that out here.
Also, it kind of falls flat because, the United States also does not give a shit about international law. So, yeah.
But again, these news organizations often fail in their objective to give you the news. But they go on to write here, quote, yet we have failed to reassess our posture towards Israel, the memo states. We doubled down on our unwavering military assistance to the Israeli government without clear, actionable red lines. So this is really good to see. Again, 100 people. Let me give you some context there. So the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's about 10,000 employees, but the State Department as a whole, and it sounds like they're talking about State Department plus USAID employees, we're talking tens of thousands of people working for the State Department. So, that, considering that, it's not a whole lot, but also think about these people are putting their names to this. A lot of people, even if they agree with something, they don't actually want to put their name to it. But the better context to give you is comparing it to another recent memo that was leaked. This one from 2016 was signed by 51 diplomats criticizing the Obama administration's policy towards Syria. So it's double that one. That's, the best context I can give you here. Regardless, it is good to see that there are people internally that are clearly unhappy with Biden's position in
pushing for a ceasefire requires exercising empathy, common sense, and rejecting the wants of wealthy Zionist donors. Yeah, well, here we are. I don't know how you can have a ceasefire as permanent a permanent ceasefire with an organization like Hamas, which is dedicated to turmoil and chaos, destroying the state of Israel. I think what the Arab countries in the region understand is that Hamas has got to go. Like, it's one thing to like fight terrorism, and it's another thing to like level fucking entire like neighborhoods. It's one like how many terrorists versus how many civilians have actually been killed. The estimate is about 20% of the deaths have been actual like combat, like, you know, fighting between the two forces. Over 80% have been just civilians. Yeah. Because right now, as we know, of course, like the numbers are probably higher, but just as like a blank estimate, it's about what, over 10,000 deaths that we know of. Yeah. There's no clear end game about this. You've heard the Israeli officials have said repeatedly, not just like in passing, but they've said this several times, that if it requires indefinite occupation in Gaza, then so be it. I mean, no, I know what you're talking about. The reality is that the bombs need to stop. It just needs to stop. I showed Bernie Sanders' video on this topic. Have I? Yes, I probably have.
In cozying up or continuing his close relationship with the far right-wing Israeli government in a position that is no different than any right-wing Republican. Now, let's look at how this has impacted Joe Biden. So first, his approval rating here has dipped about a percentage point from early October, but the real worry comes in specifically with the Arab American population that historically has been a big supporter of Democrats. So the Guardian headline here, Arab American backing for Biden sinks over rock solid Israel support. This is from the Arab American Institute, saying, quote, support among Arab American voters for Biden has plummeted from 59% in 2020 to 17% today. Notably, the data found that for the first time in Arab American Institute's 26 years of polling, that a majority of the Arab Americans did not claim to prefer the Democratic Party. Moreover, 40% of those polled said they will vote for Donald Trump in 2024, a 5 percentage point increase from 2020, marking an all-time high for Arab American identification with the Republican Party. It is important to note here that Trump will only make things worse for a variety of reasons, including on this issue. So, any support going towards Trump makes no sense. The bigger worry here, I would think, is that people are just going to stay home.
Yeah.
And that point is made here.
I mean, like that's clear. That's clear as day. I've mentioned this ad nauseum at this point. I don't know, even before all of this, I don't know if the Democratic Party is gonna bring out the same amount of turnout that it did in 2020. That was a one trick pony, and I'm not confident that strategy is gonna work again.
By Pramila Jayapal as well.
But our biggest swing voter is our base, who won't swing to Donald Trump or a Republican, but they will swing right out to the couch if they don't think that it's worth their time, nobody's paid them attention, or they're being ignored or taken for granted. They won't vote. And we know what happens when that happens. It's 2016 all over again.
And I'm going to get to an article at the end of this video that really shows you if the Democrats go in the direction that this article is trying to push them, it really will be 2016 all over again.
From our orchards.
I don't eat pears. Why are you giving me an ad about pears?
On this point, this is exactly right. Democrats lose elections when voter turnout is low. When turnout's high, they have a better chance of winning. Now, I do think a large motivating factor for 2024 still is going to be the issue of abortion. And I think they're going to continue running on that and make that a major focus for obvious reasons. But at the same time, you got to worry, especially when it comes to people, younger voters who are very concerned about human rights, who see the support that Biden is giving here to a far right wing Israeli government that is committing ongoing atrocities. It's going to depress the vote in places that he really needs it. Young voters and the Arab population in states like Michigan, in Pennsylvania, and in Georgia. It's also worth noting here that Biden shouldn't be doing the right thing because it's going to win him an election. He should be doing the right thing because it is the right thing to do to support a ceasefire. But in lieu of him caring about that, maybe he cares about losing an election. So there's recent polling as well that is just, again, we're a year away. But how things are looking right now, this is from 538. They show all recent polls here.
It's awful we might get another 2016. It is, actually. Unironically, yes. I feel so bad for Biden's popularity and the Democratic Party. It's not even about that, honestly. I could really care less. But yeah, we've all seen just how phenomenal the Trump years were.
Biden is losing in most of them, I think. So from Wisconsin, Biden's losing, whether it's in a matchup with a bunch of people or whether it's just against Trump. Pennsylvania, same thing. Biden losing by a lot. North Carolina, this is all appears to be Morning Consult, which typically is a fairly reliable pollster.
This is embarrassing. This is actually embarrassing. At least Trump didn't genocide an entire population. Well, he didn't get the chance to. Okay, guaranteed that the language coming from the Republican Party, guaranteed he would be salivating at that point. Salivating, like there's no no doubt about it that like Trump's position on this isn't going to be hunky dory on this. Okay. But I mean, hey, if you want to take that shot, it's not an excuse for Biden's. It's not an excuse for Biden's inaction. I'm not arguing about it's what actually happened. Yeah, well, actually, was there like the same situation? You're comparing apples to oranges. Was there a same scenario where Trump was allowed to make the same decision? No. Anyways, the point being is that I'm not expecting Trump to be better. Well, not really, because it didn't happen. So you think that this just happened because Biden? Okay. It just seems kind of weird to like compare a situation that didn't happen, like that had nothing to do with either administration, and then say like, oh yeah, I think Trump is gonna be the answer to this. I'm not understanding.
Yeah, Pennsylvania losing.
They were involved? Who? The people making the decisions on these airstrikes are the Israeli government. They own that. The people making these decisions are the Israeli government. They're the ones that are doing this. Like Biden supports Israel with bombs and money. Yeah, and you don't think that any other president would do the same? Of course they would. And they have.
North Carolina, Biden's losing still. Nevada, he's losing. Let's see if we can find one where he's winning. Okay. He's winning this one, Michigan, by 1 percentage point. When Kennedy's in the race, and West. But when it's just him and Trump, he's tied. So, losing Georgia.
I think they do, but Trump didn't genocide the Palestinians. You're right. The Israelis are doing this. I don't understand. You know, if Trump was in the same position, he would be absolutely more than happy to give the same amount of aid. If not more. I don't understand what the argument is here.
It's just not. You get the point. It's not looking good. Now, this is all, again, all morning consult here, but you can go down the list. Typically, this tends to be the case. He's losing from Big Village as well. So, I will link to this below in case you want to go through recent polls. But point being, it's not looking very good right now for Joe Biden. And there are a variety of reasons for that. But this past month, especially, with the focus on just how little movement there is, or little difference there is between Biden's position on Israel and Republicans, it's turning a lot of people off, again, especially in the areas where he needs to support young people and minority populations.
How embarrassing is it that like this dude who's currently like facing 91 counts, who's facing 91 counts is currently like at at a coin flip with you. Well, Trump would probably do the same, but we won't know unless he gets elected again. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's been very vocal about supporting Israel. It's not a secret. Have you like listened to his comments? He's very, very, very vocal. I mean, like you can pretend and make whatever, excuses, but like he's pretty vocal about it. What about the wall? What does this have to do with anything? You asked me about the position that you asked me about the position that Trump has versus the position that Biden has, and based on his own comments, it seems to me like given the exact same circumstance, it would basically be the same. So I don't understand. Like, Trump might have had other priorities. Like, sure, Trump is pro-Israel, but the U.S. is getting pulled all over right now. I don't understand. I don't understand what the point is. Trump's behavior on Jerusalem was inflammatory, so clearly he's not the type to side with the Palestinians. Exactly. What exactly happened with the wall? Parts are falling down in places. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what that even had to do with anything. I mean, like, this is off his own website, okay? He posted this link. These are his own quotes in his own ad. History shows that very plainly that evil only respects one thing, unyielding strength. The ad also criticized Biden for allowing $6 billion from funds to become available to Iran, yada, yada, yada. When I'm back in the White House, our enemies will know that if you spill a drop of American blood, then we will spill a gallon of yours. I mean, like, does that sound the guy we should be like, oh, you know what? This is a horrible situation, and the person currently in charge isn't doing a great job. But I think then yeah, let's let's defer to this dude. Anyways, just makes no sense.
Now, as The Hill writes here, the polling comes as Biden has faced backlash among young voters and activists for his handling of the Israel-Hamas war. Earlier this week, several progressive groups, including March for Our Lives, Gen Z for Change, and the Sunrise Movement, penned an open letter to Biden warning his handling of the Israel-Hamas war could depress turnout among millennial and Gen Z voters come next year. Quote, "We write to you to issue a very stark and unmistakable warning. You and your administration's stance on Gaza risks millions of young voters staying home or voting third party next year," the letter read. This, again, is the worry. And I hope...
Yeah, but what they would or wouldn't do isn't the point. The point is that what they actually did. Matty the Crow. Trump did not have the same situation. Otherwise, based on his own comments, he would react just the same or worse. So I don't understand what the logic is here. Had he been given the same opportunity, based on his own same comments, his own quotes, he would have reacted the same or worse. But he didn't, because he didn't have that same opportunity. The same sequence of events never happened under his administration. I don't understand. So then why are we having this conversation if you agree that given the same circumstances, under the same opportunity, he would act the same or worse? So what's the argument here? I don't understand. I don't think putting America through some sort of experiment to see how he acts is a good bet. He has shown his hand, he'd be terrible. Yeah, no doubt about it. Because he didn't actually do those acts. Because the situation never happened under his administration. That scenario didn't happen. Otherwise, if he had been given the chance, he would act the same or worse. I don't understand. So like, oh yeah, dude, you know what? Since like you can say, well, he might do it, but he didn't. Okay, so true. You know what? Then I guess we should never criticize like presidents because like I guess certain actions didn't happen under them. So you know, it just doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. Like you can say, well, he might do it, but he didn't because. This is a pointless. This is an exercise in futility. I don't understand what the point is. I'm just saying that he didn't do it. Oh, all right. Well, I guess it's okay then, right? I guess his comments are okay then, you know, because he didn't do it. I guess his comments are cool. You know, just talking about spilling a gallon of blood. If he's allowed in power, talking about how he would be more than happy to be spilling for every drop of American blood, we'll spill a gallon of blood. As if like that's not, you know, already like enough to kind of put in perspective where this is going. Like this makes no sense. This is circular. Anyways.
Biden and his administration hears this clearly. If he doesn't care about this, maybe he'll listen to his own State Department, or at least those that signed this letter. But here is the insane article that I was talking about earlier. This is, again, it's important to point out, this is an opinion piece. This is not Biden's strategy.
Agree to disagree, you're just wrong. This is like saying, hey, you know, the pandemic didn't happen under Biden, so we can't really talk about like any of like Biden's like responses because like the pandemic didn't happen under his administration, right? What?
But let's hope to God he does not listen to this. From Politico, which is, if you want to know what Washington thinks, go to Politico. That doesn't mean all the reporting is bad, but when it comes to opinion pieces, this is the kind of crap they push out. Top Democrats agree that the president needs more aggressiveness, which I agree, but maybe in a different way. More help from his friends and a few more friends. Liz Cheney Rahm Emanuel.
Oh yeah, dude, the classics. Liz Cheney and Rahm Emanuel. Phenomenal. Heat with gifting a tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Wow, you guys are just on fire today.
Mitt Romney can help. They want Joe Biden to go even further right wing. They think this is the plan to victory. This is what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. Completely ignored the Bernie wing, even though Bernie tried to, give speeches for her, tried to get support for Hillary Clinton. Hillary did not care, did not want any of the Bernie wing of the party. Instead, turned to Republicans to get their votes. And
obviously, that's not going to happen.
Lost.
Yeah.
Biden in 2020 did not do that. He instead decided to focus more on younger voters. Actually,
Also, like the 2020 is a the 2020 election is a one shot. Okay, that was that is one of the few circumstances, where a candidate like Joe Biden was going to win that election. Okay, it is one of the few circumstances where a candidate like Joe Biden was going to win that election in the manner that he did. This is not the case in 2024. And the quicker the Dems realize this, it would behoove them to turn this around, because this is not going to end well if they proceed. And we all lose if that happens. We all just lose. So yeah,
raised the Bernie wing that he defeated in the primary, brought him in to the campaigning, and he ended up winning with record young voter turnout. If Joe Biden, if all he cares about is winning, doesn't care about the lives of people, just cares about winning, the smart thing to do would be to listen to the young people. Understand what you need to do here. You please ignore, not that Biden's watching this, but man, his administration, his campaign is, if they go this way, with the Liz Cheneys and the Rahm Emanuels, they are done.
Yeah, it's going to be disastrous if that's if that's the strategy. I mean, Trump keeps bringing up Obama really controlling the country, but does anyone trust Trump? Well, actually, unfortunately, there is a sizable amount of people that do. There is a chunk of people, a noticeable chunk of people that do, and that's not great. That's not good. It doesn't look good. It isn't good. It's worrying. But yeah, unfortunately, there is a chunk of the population that does. Yeah.
Completely done. Last thing here. I'm just going to share this below. I'm not going to play it for you, but AJ Plus here talked to various Arab and Muslim voters in Michigan who voted for him in 2020, but say they will never vote for him again because of his recent stance with Israel. So it's worth checking out and really understanding. I mean, there's one person in here, I believe he's a doctor.
Man, that's the fastest ban I've ever seen.
This guy, he lost, I believe, 20 family members in Gaza in the past month. Even if, you can tell yourself, you can try and tell him, hey, Trump's worse. It's going to be worse for a variety of reasons. You can't put yourself in the shoes of someone who lost 20 family members because of what Israel is doing. And
right. Like, yeah, I completely see that. No, but don't worry. I guess this is something that now we need to talk about because it's a thing that happened on Veterans Day. No less.
And seeing your government in Joe Biden support that, someone that you voted for. I think it's very hard for people like us who aren't in his shoes to really imagine what that experience is like, and being told to then just go vote for Joe Biden. It's very important that Joe Biden understands that the humanitarian thing to do is not just the humanitarian thing to do, but it's also the way he's going to win. Because ultimately, at this point, it's hard to believe Biden cares about people, because of his closeness to the far right-wing Israeli government. So the only way to try and change his mind is for people internally to tell him that he is going to lose an election unless he supports a ceasefire. But I will link to this below. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Be honest, I don't know about that one. I believe like I can the last time somebody came in here and made a mention of this, I believe like maybe 2024, about just like roughly around 24 Congress people, like of all Congress combined, have openly supported any kind of ceasefire. Yep. So, yeah. New York City protesters serenade Donald Trump Jr. with chance of crime family as he enters the courthouse to testify in his father's fraud trial. New Yorkers are awesome. I mean, like, it's always the same, right? Always the same. Every accusation just ends up being a confession, right? The Biden crime family. Yeah, well.
So a plumber, a maid, a chauffeur, and a woodworker walk in to the special prosecutor's office. Nope, that is not the start of a really bad joke. That is actually what happened with employees from Mar-a-Lago with Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. CNN reported a few days ago that yes, it did, according to documents from Jack Smith's office, turn out that Mar-a-Lago employees are the ones who flipped on Donald Trump and spilled all of his secrets about all the documents that he had stolen, how he moved them from one place to another, and essentially ensured that the prosecutors knew that Trump knew what he was doing was wrong, but he continued to do it anyway.
I did nothing wrong and they indicted me. That's the news last week. 100 congressional staffers walked out.
And yes, the 4 people listed in these documents that CNN got a hold of are a plumber, a maid, a chauffeur, and a woodworker, all 4 employed at Mar-a-Lago. So when
Were they
CNN
actually getting paid? That's an important question.
came out with this report letting Donald Trump know that, hey, your own people, you're paying their paychecks, right?
Asterisk.
They're the ones
Asterisk, supposedly, okay? Because this guy likes to skimp out on paychecks.
who flipped on you and created so much problems. So Donald Trump did what Donald Trump does, and he got on Truth Social and went absolutely apoplectic after learning that he can't trust his own employees. Here is what he said. Fake news. CNN just did a story leaked by deranged prosecutor Jack Smith. And
Wait a minute. Isn't this like witness intimidation? No? Like, why does this guy keep like posting this and continuously allowed to post about this? Maybe it's a different case. Taken down by the lowly maid. Nice.
and his massive team of radical left lunatics
Radical
that various
left.
people saw papers in boxes at Mar-a-Lago. Of course they did. They may have been the boxes that were
Boxes.
openly and plainly brought from the White House, as is my right under the Presidential Records Act. I even supplied, upon request, security tapes to these election-interfering thugs. Is this really breaking news? No, it's breaking fake news. But what about all the
I like it. I like the German one. My question is, why is he still doing rallies? I don't know. To feed his delusions of grandeur, because he genuinely believes that this is all a political persecution because he did nothing wrong, because he's incapable of doing anything wrong, and that he belongs in the White House. So he's going to continue doing this. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think he's just feeding the narcissism. So, yeah, he never really stopped doing rallies. Oh, this judge likes Trump, I think. Okay, so this is a different case, right? This is not the one where he's under the gag order. That's why he's going off on the deep end with this one. I mean, Trump took out 200 boxes of confidential secrets. The U.S. government workflows out of the White House. Yeah, I mean, we know that there's literally security evidence of this guy like messing around with allegedly documents that he's not supposed to have. But whatever. I mean, he thinks he thinks he didn't do anything wrong because like he's incapable of doing anything wrong. Like he literally states that it is his right under a complete misinterpretation of what the Presidential Records Act is or whatever it's called. He just thinks that that's his right. He did nothing wrong. Like that's literally what he thinks.
All the papers, boxes, and documents found at numerous crooked Joe Biden places like his garage floor by his cherished Corvette or Chinatown, where it was just learned that boxes moved freely in and out. He doesn't come under the Presidential Records Act because he wasn't president at the time.
He wasn't president at the time. That's right. Also, didn't they already investigate this? Because I'm pretty sure that, like, they investigated this. They also investigated a couple of other people, like, you know, your former Vice President Mike Pence.
Deranged Jack Smith spent over $100 million investigating me on this phony Russia type scam. How much monies have they spent investigating Crooked Joe and his money?
That has nothing to do. All right. Yep.
Much bigger boxes deal. How much monies? Where's the monies? He did not spend like $100 million. You pulled that number straight out your ass. Like 100% that came from the poop chute. Now, here's what's so crazy about this. Trump's not actually mad that President Biden's not being investigated. He understands, like, he's not crazy enough to not know that it's not the same thing. He's also, I don't believe, stupid enough to actually think that that's what the Presidential Records Act says. The Presidential Records Act says nothing that, you know, to the effect of, hey, if you're the president, take whatever you want with you. We don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I'm not sure. I genuinely, I can't make a judgment one way or the other. In my personal opinion, okay, this is just my opinion. He genuinely believes that he doesn't. He has done nothing wrong, and it's entitled to him. Because in his delusional worldview, he can do no wrong, and he's trying to use this repeated citation of the Presidential Records Act or whatever as a way of willing that delusion into existence. That's what I personally think. That's what I personally think is what's happening. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he actually genuinely believes this. I don't know if he's genuinely just trying to CYA. I just don't know. I don't know if he's a true believer that he's entitled to these documents. That it's just my opinion.
It actually says that if you create something, it's our property, not yours. It's literally the exact opposite of what he says, and he knows that because I have to assume, as bad as his lawyers are, they've still probably told him that. He's just using that to try to taint the jury pool out there. But more importantly, he's terrified over the fact that all these people working around him, all these people he took for granted, all these people he never even bothered to notice, they're the ones that did him in. They're the ones that gave up the goods. And if you'll remember, it's exactly what I told you was going to happen. I don't like doing the whole I told you so thing, but you go back and you watch videos from a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, I told y'all it was going to be the people that Donald Trump felt were beneath him. The people who, oh, it doesn't matter if I leak secrets in front of these idiots, they don't know any better. This is just the waiter, this is the maid. Those are people who see everything. And those are people who talk. Clearly, Donald Trump has never worked in a restaurant. Waiters see everything that happens, and if they don't, somebody else is going to point it out. Then the entire kitchen staff is going to know. Same thing if you work in hospitality. The maids are going to see a lot of things. The housekeepers, they're going to tell other people. It's going to be an open secret. And that is exactly what happened. Because Donald Trump thought so little of these people, he never bothered to hide his corruption. And now these are the same people that have spilled the beans to the prosecutors.
Yeah, or he just thinks that he did nothing wrong. Brought down by the help like many an aristocrat. Yep. Alright, so Conscious Canuck says he's ready. We'll see. This person here on the screen has been going on a rant maybe for a while now, last week after the Ohio vote, coping about the loss. And Matt Walsh trigger warning, exactly. And now we're back to the anti-trans bigotry, the classics, you know, the bread and butter.
What do you mean by a trans Catholic? If by that you mean someone who is suffering from gender dysphoria and they have confusion about this and they're struggling with it.
You see, like, that's the thing. I don't believe there's any confusion. If you actually bothered to talk to any trans person. Welcome. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. Just welcome. Thank you for the follow. Howdy.
Is there any reason why someone like that shouldn't be allowed to be baptized or even potentially shouldn't be allowed to be a godparent? No, not necessarily. If you're talking about if you have a man, for example, struggling with this, still identifies as a man and knows that he is a man, but he's struggling with this dysphoria, he's doing everything that he can to cope with it and to get through it and to find clarity in his own life.
What if that clarity and coping with it and understanding who this person, who they are, just means that they're now presenting as a different gender? What if that is their ultimate epiphany? I don't know, whatever. That if that's ultimately the conclusion that they reach, is that this is who I am, and I finally found myself. What if that's their ultimate conclusion? Should we just not allow these people? Well, Matt Walsh would say, yeah. Forgettable except for the poison spewing from his mouth. Yep.
That is someone who's in the virtuous in the fight, in the struggle to live a virtuous life. But I don't think that's what's meant.
Also, I got a feeling this dude, one of these days, we're just gonna get a story, from this dude. I'll have 5 words for you. Why, Matt Walsh? Why do you effing care? Because he needs to be in everybody's business because he is a theocratic fascist. Gender dysphoria is when you don't feel comfortable with the gender you feel you identify as. Non-binary people don't feel comfortable with either binary and usually feel and believe things that are often identified with both genders. Right. But most people are pretty, it's not like a confusion, right? Not like he tries to present it. It's not like a confusion. Most people realize, and find themselves, as they go through life, and sometimes even during early stages of life. A lot of people know. All right, a lot of people know, and the point being is that he just right. It's not like you're confused once you find yourself. Right. The point is he's trying to make it seem like these people are, well, in his worldview, these people are mentally ill. He believes that these people are unwell. Right. There's in his worldview, he believes that they are sick.
Because someone who's simply struggling with dysphoria in this way, I mean, one thing, they're not identifying as trans most of the time. So if you're talking about trans, and especially if you're talking about someone who's gone through the transition, quote unquote transition, well, now you're talking about someone who is fully living the lie. And
Whoa, what lie?
living by Catholic doctrine, living fully in a state of unrepentant mortal sin.
What? Hey, can somebody point me to like the Bible verse? and by the way, this dude's like big mad because like the Pope is like, yeah, dude, trans people are just like, you know, people and they can be baptized. This is what this response is. And like honestly, like point me to like the actual like Bible verse where like apparently it's a mortal sin. Well, they often times despair because they are forced to live in a reality that isn't real. What? I'm sorry. Can you clarify? Since when is this a Catholic nation? It always has been, according to Matt Walsh and other theocratic fascists. It always has been some type of Christo. They like to use the word Judeo-Christo, whatever. They have always believed that. So yeah, if you're a theocratic fascist, then the answer to that question is since its founding.
And
also, being trans is not a mortal sin? Question mark?
In order for someone like that, this has always been Catholic teaching, in order for someone like that to be, if we want inclusion, which by the way, inclusion in the church, is that the goal? Of course it is. You want to include everybody.
Okay.
Right?
Wait, you want to include everybody, so that means trans people? Are you saying that, like, trans people aren't people? Huh.
But unrepentant mortal sin cannot be included itself. You have to repent of that. You have to face it, repent of it, change your ways, at least try to change, face it for what it is, acknowledge it. And if you're not going to do any of those things, then you've chosen your sin over the truth.
But what sin, dude? That's nowhere in the Bible, to my understanding, is it a sin to be trans. Also, like, isn't the whole point of being a Christian or Catholic or whatever is to seek, like, the Word of God? Should it really matter how you are as a person if you're trying to, like, actually seek the Word of God and actually be... And again, I'm just putting myself in, like, the Catholic, Christian kind of, like, shoes. Like, wouldn't, like... Shouldn't you be accepting as... Shouldn't you be accepting as someone who wants more people to seek the Word of God? Does it really matter how they identify? Does it really matter who they love? The point, I thought, was to have more people seek the Word of God. And, no, that's not the goal here. Trans people are forced to live as a person they don't identify as and often get super depressed. Right, because of people like this guy. Listen, Matt, I'm disabled and I do not lecture or assume what is another's infirmity or disability is. Yeah, like on top of that, you're also correct. On top of that, you're also correct. You think so? But no. The point being is that all of this facade of being like some kind of Christian or Catholic or whatever, it's actually just a shield to justify the bigotry, because like the bigotry and hate come first. This is just sort of like the justification or shield to hide behind. That's it. The bigotry and the hate come first. The whole idea of being like a Christian or being Christ-like or being a Catholic, whatever, that's secondary. That's just a shield to hide behind. when really people like this guy, it's just hatred and bigotry first, and then like the shield is the religious aspect of it.
Truth. You've chosen, and you've certainly chosen it over the church. So this has always been.
But what if I'm trans and I want to get baptized? Like, I want to seek the word of God. And despite even if I was a sinner, so we're just not allowed to go and seek the word of God. Like, you can't be baptized. Yeah, this just makes no sense unless you put it through the lens of like, actually, I just hate these people, and I'm bigoted towards these people. And I'm justifying it by twisting my myself into pretzels using the perceived like Bible or whatever. The education system in the U.S. is meant to create more. Matt Walsh is, by the way. I'm not exactly opposed to that line of thought. I mean, you can see it just based on the curriculum or lack thereof, to be quite honest. And I'm not really I'm not really against. I'm not disagreeing with you on that, is what I'm trying to say. Want to enrage a transphobe? Since all humans are made in the image of God, then God is all gendered. Anyone can be recognized God as being their gender. True. Also, like, if we are all created in God's image, then like either, okay, God may be either God isn't all that powerful or all knowing, because we are supposed to be created in His image. He isn't all knowing and all powerful because He made gay people. And if you think that if we're all created in His image and the only acceptable image is heterosexual, like cis, then like it means that God isn't all powerful, right? Because He made gay people. Or vice versa, if God is all powerful and all knowing, then He created every one of us in His image, so every one of us is valid. That means trans people and gay people and cis people, right? Matt Walsh wants to save Bodyguard these Christian principles, but Jesus did not mention LGBT people ever. Right? Like, explain to me where in the Bible, or where in like any of these like religions. Explain to me where being trans or being a trans person is a mortal sin as he described it. Explain to me where in the Bible that's explicitly labeled as being trans is a mortal sin. Explain that one to me. Omniscient or omnipotent, right? Right, God is not, either God is omniscient and omnipotent or He's not. It's that simple. You'll be hard-pressed to get logical consistency for people who don't logic and reason their way into their beliefs. But that's my point. My point is it doesn't exist, you see? Because the bigotry and the hatred are first. The bigotry and the hatred come first. Welcome, Fu Manchu. Remember what you call the Bible as a book curated by so-called experts in the year 400 AD or something. True. The Old Testament does in Leviticus, but not Jesus. What? Can you point me to the Bible verse? Can you point me to the Bible verse? And even that's being disputed by biblical scholars on whether it refers to pedophiles or gay people. Oh, no, I'm talking about like trans people. That's what this video is about. The religious contradiction isn't what's mentioned specifically in books, but rather the belief that God, Abrahamic religion, is infallible. Nobody can be born wrong because God does not make mistakes. Right, if that's true, you're right. If that's true, then like, if they truly believe that, then trans people and gay people, then they exist because God does not make mistakes, right? Oh, Leviticus 18:22. Okay, well, I don't believe that's mentioning trans people. Let me just double check before I insert my foot in my mouth. But I mean, it's saying a Christian nation. True. I don't think anything in the Bible directly refers to trans people, but then again, you can always interpret verses to suit your needs. Right. Yeah, like none of this. Yeah, no, this doesn't make a mention. Like if you were like, twist yourselves into pretzels, like you might, again, your bigotry has to come first. Your bigotry and hatred has to come first, to be able to like arrive at these type of conclusions. So yeah, my point stands, that there is no mention of trans people, in the Bible. And like, I haven't really heard, interpretations to make a solid argument from like the Christian perspective as to like, why like this, by the way, this is like the first time I've heard, Matt Walsh or any, Christo-fascist, try to say that trans people are like, being trans is like a mortal sin. It's just not a thing. The only reason these people are like, performing mental gymnastics to arrive at this conclusion is because the bigotry and hatred is first, and then they use the Bible or whatever as a shield and justification, for said hatred. In fact, I think, hey, that's right. We had a little exchange here. Perhaps 45 was one of God's spiritual tests that so many have failed. True. Yeah, my point being is that he just wants trans people to not exist. Being Christ-like or Christian or whatever, is Catholic, is just secondary to bigotry. It's just a shield that he can hold up to justify whatever atrocities he would carry out if it was up to him. So yeah, like it's plain and simple as that. With people like Matt Walsh.
Been the teaching.
Yeah. In Judaism, some adherents believe that cutting and changing your body is a sin. This then has followed into Christianity and Islam in some variation as they came after. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. Wait, for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. Yeah, like it's basically saying like don't do like, I don't know, some satanic like voodoo, to cut like a piece of your to make like an offering with your body, for the dead. This doesn't say like, oh, you can't be trans. Is often interpreted to be against tattoos and piercings. Yeah, I see that. For any marks on yourself. This seems like it's telling you that like you can't make like these weird like voodoo like sacrifices where you like take a piece of your flesh or whatever. I don't know. It just makes it. That's what I'm seeing. In mourning for the dead is another translation. So basically, like, I don't know, if you make like a tattoo mark because you wanted to honor your dead mother or something, like, I guess that's a no-no. You're going to hell. Listen, if you want to honor your dead sibling or dead mother, or your spouse or whatever, because this seems to me like very explicitly talking about like making any offerings for the dead, then like I don't know, this doesn't seem like it's I don't know. I guess if you perform Olympic levels of mental gymnastics, you can make it work. And if you're one of these crystal fascists, you're gonna make it work. So basically, like, God is against wait, would God be against like organ donors? Would God be against organ donors? Well, I guess it wouldn't be for the dead because they'd be living. They just need an organ. Never mind. If their God was really real, he could make his wishes more clear and true. It's almost like a human wrote all of this. It's almost like a human wrote this. It's wild because the more liberal versions of these Abrahamic religions are nice and allow for tattoos and piercings and are accepting, but then they are also far away from what their source material are. Yeah, I mean, but this just makes me like, when I read this, like even all types of different translations, this just basically tells me that like you cannot like do like sacrifices or something like that. And you can't put like marks on yourself for the dead or something. I don't know, it just seems strange. Whatever. A point being is that, I mean, like even these type of verses, like there's no real mention of like trans people. It's just these people have decided that their hate and bigotry comes first. No seafood, especially lobster. That's against the Lord? Jesus. Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in blood transfusions. That's sad. That's just sad, because, like, these are things that are pretty, at this point in time, like, a blood transfusion is, like, nothing in terms of, like, our medical capacity. And, I mean, just to forgo that, it just seems, because of religion, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. No, I believe it. I believe it. On a personal level, I think it's silly if you adhere to any of the traditional Abrahamic faiths. You can't realistically assume that God can make a mistake and put a person's soul in the wrong body. You can't simultaneously believe that a God is all-powerful but also makes basic mistakes. Either God would fix you or it doesn't exist. Right. That's probably, a better way of wording what I was trying to word in my like rant earlier. That was my entire point. Maybe I just, the delivery wasn't there. But that's basically it. Basically it's like God can't be all powerful and all seeing, omnipotent and omniscient, while also like simultaneously making like basic mistakes. Yeah, basically, like, ignore what I just said and just take that. That's the comment right there. When I think of the people who deny their kids care for religious reasons, yep. Yep. Anyways, yeah, this guy. This guy's a thing. Alright, switching gears. Trump calls political enemies vermin, echoing dictators Hitler and Mussolini. I mean, well, yeah, any type of authoritarian. Generally speaking, it would speak in this manner. On Veterans Day, no less, the former president vowed to root out his liberal opponents, drawing backlash from historians who say his rhetoric is reminiscent of authoritarians. It's not reminiscent, it is. This is nothing new, okay? This is nothing new. But, here we are. He echoes all kinds of, Hitler campaign speeches. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a reason why, there's a reason why, like, a lot of Nazis, prefer, and were invigorated when this guy, came into the scene. Former President Trump denigrated his domestic opponents and critics during a Veterans Day speech on Saturday. 2 days ago. Calling those on the other side of the aisle vermin and suggested they pose a greater threat to the United States than countries such as Russia, China, or North Korea. That language is drawing rebuke from historians who compared it to authoritarian leaders. We pledge to you that we will root out the communist, the Marxist, the fascist, the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country that lie and steal and cheat on elections. I mean, like, you know, just go to the German version, dude. Like, if I were to say, like, this is like almost indistinguishable from something that Hitler would say, or any far right authoritarian would say. Trump said towards the end of his speech, reporting his false claim that the 2020 election was stolen, they'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the Third Reich. And to destroy the dreams of a Third Reich. Trump went on further to state, the threat from the outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within. Because if you have a capable, competent, smart, and tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. The former president's speech in Claremont, New Hampshire, echoed the message of vengeance and grievance and called himself a very proud election denier. And decried his legal entanglements, once again attacking the judge in New York civil trial and re-upping his attacks on special counsel Jack Smith. In the speech, Trump once again portrayed himself as the victim of a political system that is going out to get him and his supporters. Yet Trump's use of the word vermin, both his speeches in a Truth Social post and in a Truth Social post on Saturday, drew a particular backlash. The language is the language that dictators use to instill fear. I mean, yeah. What are you talking about? This has been going on for years, since this guy came onto the scene. Said Timothy Naftali, a senior research scholar at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs. When you dehumanize an opponent, you strip them of their constitutional rights to participate securely in a democracy because you're saying that they're not human. That's what dictators do. I mean, yeah. Ruth Ben-Ghiat, a historian at the New York University, said in an email to the Washington Post that calling people vermin was used effectively by Hitler and Mussolini to dehumanize people and encourage their followers to engage in violence. Trump is also using projection. Note that he mentions all kinds of authoritarians, communists, Marxists, fascists, and radical left to set himself up to be the deliverer of freedom, said Ben-Ghiat. Mussolini promised freedom to all his people and then declared dictatorship. Well, no, because Trump isn't referring to authoritarians. He's referring to anybody that opposes him. He uses communist, Marxist, fascist, the radical left, all interchangeably. To him, they're all just one and the same. These words have no distinction other than people that are against me. I mean, like, he'll even say that the Democrats belong in the same group. So no. Also, that's not entirely true because, like, what is the radical left? And not all, and like the radical left depends on what you define as the radical left. Like, people who push for like universal health care, people who push for like universal college, housing, things like that, they might be considered the radical left. Is that authoritarian? Fascism is as American pie. Hitler learned everything from America's treatment of the natives. Yes, that was a part of it. Yes, the Manifest Destiny. I believe also eugenics. Yeah. I don't want 45 to become 47. Nope, you're a radical, communist, Marxist, Democrat, fascist, radical left. Like, it's all the same to him. So it's kind of weird that we arrived at this conclusion here. But anyways, Stephen Chung, a Trump campaign spokesman, told the Post that those who try to make that ridiculous assertion are clearly snowflakes, grasping for anything because they are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Like, there's no actual like addressing like the argument that like, hey man, we've actually seen this before because like history doesn't quite repeat itself. It often rhymes, or whatever the saying goes. And like, damn, this is rhyming a hell of a lot with some like stuff that happened in the 1920s and 1930s. And like the response is like, snowflake. That's it. That's literally the response. That's the response to these to this argument. Chung later clarified that he meant to say the sad and miserable existence instead of their entire existence. Oh yeah, no, much better. So we're not going to acknowledge the argument that like, hey man, we're seeing some historical parallels. Like, nah, dude, snowflake. Not even going to acknowledge that. Trump has also received widespread criticism and condemnation from recent groups such as the ADL for saying in an interview that undocumented immigrants were poisoning the blood of our country. Jesus Christ. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's about as explicit as you can get. I mean, like, who else is talking about like the who else was talking about the poisoning of the blood of the German people? Oh wait, yeah, I've seen this story before. Man, every time like this stuff comes up, every time this stuff comes up, like this is literally me. GOP philosophy: if I offend them, go harder. Nah, it's not even that. It's just like, I'm just gonna straight up crack open Mein Kampf and just take a page out of that. That's basically it. Domingo Garcia, the president of the League of United Latin American Citizens, the oldest Hispanic civil rights group in the country, said that at the time that Trump's comments about blood indicating language is getting more extreme, comparing it to Nazi propaganda about Jewish people. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Trump's divisive rhetoric comes as he remains the clear polling leader in the dwindling GOP primary field, as he and his allies have already started to plot ways for the federal government to punish his critics and opponents should he win back the White House. The Post recently reported that Trump, who faces 91 charges across 4 criminal cases, is naming people who he wants to investigate and prosecute, and his associates are drafting plans to potentially invoke the Insurrection Act on his first day in office, which would allow him to deploy the military in response to civil demonstrations. Yeah. Not authoritarian, by the way. In addition to attacking the radical left, he also spent part of New Hampshire speech lashing out at New York judge overseeing the civil fraud case, calling the New York Attorney General Letitia Peekaboo James a disaster and reiterating his descriptions of Smith as deranged. Smith has brought 2 indictments against Trump, and one in a case he's charging Trump with illegally hoarding classified documents, and the other alleging he sought to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power by seeking to overturn the results of the 2020 election, leading to the January 6th insurrection. The Trump-hating prosecutor in the case, his wife and family despise me so much than he does, and I think he's about a 10. They're about a 15 on a scale of 10. He's a disgrace to America. Yeah. Cool. Phenomenal stuff. Everything's going great. Not at all authoritarian, right? Just literally threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act over... Wait a minute. He rates prosecutors on a scale of 10? Yeah, on a scale of 10 of how much you hate Trump. That's his rating. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Trump? These prosecutors are about a 15. Many people are saying. With GOP opposition, Speaker Mike Johnson would need Democratic votes to pass to avert the shutdown. We have 4 more days, folks. 4 more days. The House is set to vote on Tuesday. Oh, tomorrow. I thought it was today. Sorry, I'm already tired. On a plan, newly elected Speaker Mike Johnson has pitched to avert a looming government shutdown, yet enough of his Republican hardliners have now said they'll oppose the funding measure and they'll have to rely solely on Democratic votes to pass it, which, I don't know if this is going to end up, forcing another motion to vacate. Johnson told his GOP conference over the weekend that he's moving forward with the 2-step government plan that he has described as a laddered CR or continued resolution that would keep the government funded at 2023 levels. Now it looks like as if Johnson will have to look across the aisle to pass his plan, since 6 Republicans have publicly said that they won't vote for it. Representative Bob Good, Warren Davidson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Chip Roy, George Santos, Scott Perry have all indicated they will not support this vote. With a slim GOP majority, Johnson can afford to lose only a handful of Republican votes if all members are present. Democratic leaders are not taking an official position yet on Johnson's government funding plan, saying in a letter that they are carefully evaluating it. I have to say I do enjoy when you use your Trump voice. It's spot on. Oh, man. I did nothing wrong and they indicted me. On Monday, Senate leadership seemed to be back on Johnson's short-term funding plan. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell took the floor in the separate but similar speeches about Johnson's proposal. But now I'm pleased that Speaker Johnson seems to be moving in our direction by advancing a CR that does not include the highly partisan cuts that Democrats have warned against, said Schumer. On the Senate floor, the Speaker's proposal is far from perfect, but the most important thing is that it refrains from making steep cuts while also extending funding for defense in the second tranche of bills. Schumer has also warned Johnson to hold firm against conservatives in his conference, who will surely complain that the short-term funding bill does not include budget cuts. House Speaker Johnson recognizes that he will need support from Democrats in both chambers if he wants to avoid causing a shutdown. He needs to stay away from poison pills and steep hard right cuts for that to happen. McConnell also spoke on the Senate floor, saying that he backs the proposal and will urge his Republican colleagues to vote on it. So what now? Their strategy is to trip George Santos on the sidewalk so he can't vote? He might he might trip himself out by getting himself into trouble. We got a mandolin riff. Okay. I still haven't fixed that, by the way. Manage. What is this? Channel points. Fix what? Your mandolin? No, it's misspelled. It's supposed to be RIFF. Yeah, I don't know. I edited one of them, but somehow this one's not. I have so many channel points. Oh, there we go. Ah. I gotta add more, custom, like, channel things so that you can just, like, waste them and keep using them and makes, like, random stuff on the stream. I don't know. Anyways. Alright, let's get through this and we'll do the, we'll do the mandolin riff towards the end. Johnson's financial plan is his first major task as Speaker since he was elected last month after the historic ousting of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Johnson is facing a similar challenge as McCarthy, working to pass a clean continuing resolution while carefully maneuvering between moderates and hardliners in his conference. He also finds himself, like McCarthy, needing Democratic votes to help keep the government open. It's possible Johnson won't face the same fate as McCarthy, as Republicans have repeatedly said they hope to give Johnson some leeway to find its footing. The laddered CR has two different deadlines to keep different parts of the government functioning, January 19 and February 2nd. If the House passes the plan, the Senate would then have to act by Friday to avert a shutdown. The bill would stop the absurd holiday season omnibus tradition of massive loaded up spending bills introduced right before Christmas recess, Johnson said in a statement. Separating out the continuing resolutions from the supplemental funding debates places our conference in the best position to fight for fiscal responsibility, oversight over Ukraine aid, and the meaningful policy changes at our southern border. The proposal has been panned by several from his own party. I'm opposed to the continuing resolution that has been proposed because it contains no spending reductions. and no policy win for the American people. Says Bob Good. Davidson said the plan Johnson proposed has a status quo policies and status quo funding levels. Some nice sound effects are always fun. Yeah, I could do that. Larger team of cute animal videos like 50k or 100k, maybe. Or I can just like make different challenges or something. I don't know. I'll have to really think about that. $2,000 points gets the goat scream sound effect. That's something I have to steal. Disappointing is as polite as I can muster. I will be voting no, said Davidson, posting to Twitter. Hopefully consensus will result in a more reasonable bill. Several Democrats, including Henry Cuellar and Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut, have indicated that they will vote no on Johnson's plan. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has not said how the conference is being instructed to vote. A letter from Democratic leaders Jeffries, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, and Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar on Monday said the House have reservations about the latter's continuing resolution. While House Republicans have abandoned a laddered funding approach with multiple expiration dates, we remain concerned with the bifurcation of the continuing resolution in January and February of 2024. We have proceeded this week through the lens of making progress for everyday Americans by continuing to put people over politics. What? What is this? Okay. Last week, Jeffries threw cold water on the idea of laddered CR, but he has made it clear that the government shutdown must be averted. We must keep the government open and stop extremists from hurting America's economy. 4 more days, folks. We don't really need to go much into this article. We can stop at the headline. Republican Senator Tim Scott has suspended his presidential campaign. Another one bites the dust. I mean, for obvious reasons, I don't think any of these campaigns matter. And not any of these campaigns are going to make it anywhere near. So they're all going to end up in this stage one way or another. But, yep, another one bites the dust. And Tim Scott is not alone, by the way. Like, there's no candidate that's going to break through the GOP primary that isn't Trump, right? So now that we got that out of the way, QAnon shaman who stormed the Capitol in the January 6th insurrection files paperwork to run for Congress. Yep, that's right. Jacob Chansley, the Arizona insurrectionist who gained notoriety as the QAnon shaman who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, filed paperwork to run for Congress as a libertarian candidate in the battleground state 8th congressional district. Representative Debbie Lesko announced last month that she won't seek re-election in the district. Chansley stood out among Capitol insurrectionists by appearing shirtless with face paint, wearing a furry headdress with horns, and carrying a U.S. flag affixed to a spear and a bullhorn. Chansley had pleaded guilty to a single count of felony obstruction of an official proceeding. The federal judge in 2021 sentenced Chansley to 41 months in prison. In a sentencing memo, prosecutors described him as the public face of the Capitol insurrection. Chansley was among the initial group of insurrectionists to enter the building and used the bullhorn to rile up the crowd and demand that lawmakers be brought out. Correct, Tim Scott is gone from the debates from the GOP kids table. Yeah, I mean, like, that's it. They're all at the kids table, so to speak, because there is no other candidate, at least in the polls right now, that's even close to Trump. So like it's just gonna be probably Trump. That's just the reality of it. Chansley shouted obscenities in a Senate gallery and climbed the chamber's dais. The memo said he photographed himself there and refused officers' orders to leave and left a note said that it only matter of time. Justice is coming. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that Jenks' book? All right. Isn't that Jenks' book? Hold on. Yeah, it is. Ah. Prosecutors noted that Chansley, who pushed the far-right QAnon conspiracy theories, used social media to spread false information and hateful rhetoric that provoked the Capitol insurrection. Chansley served about 27 months in prison before he was transferred to a halfway house in Phoenix, according to the AP. During a hearing, Chansley's original lawyers, Albert Watkins, said he no longer wanted to be known as the QAnon shaman. At his sentencing hearing, Chansley expressed remorse for his actions, which he called indefensible. I was wrong for entering the Capitol. I have no excuses and no excuse whatsoever. Press X to doubt, but okay. Anyways, yeah. This dude's running for office. Yeah, poor ego. All right, folks. Shifting gears. The Supreme Court says it's adopting a code of ethics, but it has no means of enforcement. So, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of like meaningless, right? Like, this is like a really, really, really half-assed bullshit way of trying to, like, get ahead. Trying to get ahead of this whole thing, of all of these scandals that keep happening. And this is the best that they've come up with. You'll get trounced in the election? Probably. I read the last chapter. It's Pollyannish? Wait, what? I'm lost. The Supreme Court on Monday, today, adopted its first code of ethics in the face of sustained criticism over undisclosed trips and gifts from wealthy benefactors to some justices, but the code lacks a means of enforcement. The policy agreed to by all 9 justices does not appear to impose any significant new requirements and leaves compliance entirely to each justice. What? So, another way of putting it is like there is no actual ethics codes. It's just smoke and mirrors. Indeed, the justices said they have long adhered to ethics standards and suggested that criticism of the court over ethics was the product of misunderstanding rather than any missteps by the justices. No, I think we're all pretty much more than capable of understanding. No, there's no misunderstanding here. Taking what effectively are bribes, not disclosing any of these financial transactions, taking these lavish, extravagant vacations. Yeah. Oh, of Jenks' book. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't believe there's a misunderstanding. How freaking, like, condescending is that? To be told that, like, no, people are just angry. People are just big mad for no reason. They just don't understand. You see, we haven't done anything wrong. You're just stupid. Cenk was on the damage report this morning, but I didn't watch it. He's still under the delusion that he's going to run and somehow get somewhere with that campaign. Quote, the absence of a code, however, has led in recent years to misunderstanding that the justices of the court, unlike any other jurors in the country, regard themselves as unrestricted by any ethics rules. The justice wrote in an unsigned statement that accompanied the they didn't even sign it. They didn't even endorse these words. They couldn't even be bothered to endorse these words anyways. To dispel the misunderstanding, we are issuing this code, which largely represents a codification of principles that we have long regarded as governing our conduct. But, there's no way to enforce this or hold any of you accountable to any of this. So, I don't know. To translate this is listen, you stupid plebs. We, the 9 magical law wizards that reside in the tower, are above your understanding, okay? What you see and what all the scandals that you've read about us, it's just a misunderstanding. You see, we can't actually be unethical because there is actually no ethical code to be compared to. You silly plebs. So now we're just gonna, paint smoke and mirrors so that you can be appeased. But largely, this is going to do nothing. This may seem like a weird statement, but Cenk lately reminds me a lot of Mike Pillow. A little bit. Okay, a little bit. All we need are coupon codes to buy his book. The ethics issue has vexed the court for several months over a series of stories questioning the ethical practice of justices. Many of those stories focus on Clarence Thomas and his failure to disclose travel and other hospitality and additional financial ties with wealthy conservative donors, including Harlan Crow and the Koch brothers. The Justices Alito and Sonia Sotomayor have also been under scrutiny. In September, Justice Elena Kagan acknowledged there was disagreements among the justices over the contents of the ethics code, but did not specify what they were. The justices achieved unanimity on Monday, but predictably offered no explanation for how they got there. The 9 law wizards have spoken. Liberal critics of the court were not satisfied, with one group saying the code reads a lot more like a friendly suggestion than a binding enforceable guideline, because that's it. That's basically what it is. Did you hear that My Pillow thinks he can represent himself? I mean, can and should are 2 different things, right? Can he represent himself? Yeah. Should he? Yeah, I think he should. Oh.
Every now and then, even though I do this every day, sometimes stories slip under the radar from me and I miss them. This happens to be one of those stories that I can promise you, had I seen it the day it came out, I 100% would have talked about it probably multiple times. But on October 16th, Newsweek ran an article, again, can't believe I missed it, about the fact that Mike Lindell has decided he is going to represent himself in the multiple different defamation lawsuits that he is facing because he does not have money for lawyers. The MyPillow CEO will act as his own lawyer as he faces hundreds of millions of dollars in defamation lawsuits. Now, as we all know, Lindell's lawyers recently dumped him because he doesn't have any money, he can't pay their bills, and Lindell said, quote, "These lawyers were courageous. They took on a case where every other lawyer in this country is afraid to take on any case against the electronic voting machines and the evil that's out there. This was a great group of attorneys, and they need to get paid, and there's no money to pay them. They can't keep going." So, yeah, I mean, that's true. There's no money to pay them. What are they going to do? But holy crap, dude, really? You're going to represent yourself. Now, we did learn a couple months ago, when videotape of one of Mike Lindell's depositions was released, Lindell was absolutely unhinged during his questioning, right? Lashed out at the attorney that was asking him questions, called him an a-hole, really just went on this profane tirade against the lawyer. And dude, if you can't keep your cool in a deposition, then there is no way you're going to successfully represent yourself at trial. Don't get me wrong, I want you to do it. Like, I 100% want Mike Lindell to act as his own attorney. That would be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. No offense to my it would just be that amazing to see. And oh my God, do I want it to happen so badly. You don't even know. But legal experts are, of course, trying to warn him that if you do this, this is going to be the worst thing you've ever done in your life. Specifically, you have Nima Rahmani, the president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, who said this: "Lindell is making a mistake. He's not a lawyer and has never tried a case. Dominion's attorney are going to..."
That's funny. People still watch TYT and call your boy Checks as a presidential run as a joke. You're not embarrassed by that? Oh. What an absolute clown. When have I ever supported Cenk's run for president? In fact, I've been very critical since the beginning. It's not happening. It's not a thing that Cenk can do. He can talk about it all he wants. Cenk's just not eligible to run for president. It's that simple. Your boy Cenk. Jeez.
To run circles around him. Adding the fact that he has no filter and isn't careful about what he says, which got him here in the first place, he's likely to turn off the judge and jury. This all has the makings of a large judgment against Lindell. I agree. But that's why, I'm telling him, dude, you gotta do it. You really should do this.
Well, he might not have a choice. If he has no money to pay lawyers, nobody else is going to take his case.
Because here's what's at stake, folks. Mike Lindell, as I said, is actually facing well over $1 billion in defamation lawsuits. Some of the lawsuits are split between 3 different defendants, the other 2, of course, being Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. But I think all told, Lindell himself is facing $1 billion, a little more than that maybe. So Lindell has a net worth, if the internet can be believed, which I don't believe these too much, of anywhere between about $250 and $350 million. We know that Fox News already paid out one settlement for these lawsuits of almost $800 million just for their part. So Lindell, in this civil trial, would essentially lose every single thing. And the bulk of his net worth is actually because he is the founder, CEO, and sole proprietor of MyPillow. So what do they do in a situation like that? They take the assets. He is at risk of losing his pillow company, the only reason anybody in this country knows who the hell he is, because he can't pay his lawyers, because he wants to act as his own counsel.
They're going to take everything.
I do predict at the end of all of this, MyPillow will likely be gone. I'm not going to shed a tear for it. It's going to suck for the workers who work at the factory, absolutely. Maybe they can become Dominion Pillow or, Smartmatic.
Smartmatic Pillow. That's hilarious. His stance is he can get on state ballots and then be a proxy for somebody else. Wait, what? How does... What? Oh, Jank.
Pillow. Who knows? But one thing I think is almost certain at this point, that company will no longer be held by Mike Lindell when this is all over.
True. All right, that's hilarious. All right, so back to the Supreme Court. Sheldon, White House, one of the loudest voices complaining about the court's ethical shortcomings, mixed praise for the court with call to do more. This is a long overdue step by the justices, but a code of ethics is not binding unless there's a mechanism to investigate possible violations and enforce the rules. The honor system has not worked for the members of the Roberts Court. True. A court of ethics proposed by White House that cleared the Senate Judiciary Committee without any Republican support would allow for complaints and investigations by lower court judges. 3 justices, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Kagan, have voiced support for an ethics code in recent months. In May, Chief Justice John Roberts said there is more the court can do to adhere to the highest ethical standards without providing any specifics. Public trust in and approval of the court is hovering near lows, according to the Gallup poll released just before the court's new term, October 2nd. As recently as last week, Senator Dick Durbin, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, said the justice could quiet some of the criticism and a Democratic push to impose an ethics court by putting one in place of their own policy. Durbin's panel, which has been investigating the court ethics, has been planning to subpoena Crow and conservative activist Leonard Leo about their roles in organizing and paying for justices' luxury travel. Republicans complained that the Democrats were mostly reacting to decisions they didn't like from conservative-dominated court, including the overturning of Roe v. Wade. The Democratic-backed ethics bill would also require that justices provide more information about potential conflicts of interest and written explanations about their decisions to not recuse. It would also seek to improve transparency around any gifts received by the justices. The Democratic bill had little prospect of becoming law in the Republican-controlled House, much less the closely divided Senate, which is pretty wild to me. He said so. He said as much on TYT this afternoon. Trump will get my pillow. Oh God, you think he's gonna buy it? Well, I don't think he can, right? I don't know. The push for an ethics code was jump-started by a series of stories by the investigative news site ProPublica detailing the relationship between Crow and Thomas. Crow has for more than 2 decades paid for nearly annual vacations purchased from Thomas and other the Georgia home in which the justice's mother still lives, and helped pay for the private schooling for a relative. ProPublica also reported on Alito's Alaskan fishing trip with a GOP donor, a travel that Leo helped arrange. The AP reported that Sotomayor, aided by her staff, has advanced sales of her book through college visits over the past decade. Yikes. The AP also reported that universities have used trips by justices as a lure for financial contributions by placing them in event rooms with wealthy donors. The court's initial step on ethics in the spring also did not mollify critics. Roberts declined an invitation from Durbin to testify before the judicial panel, but the Chief Justice provided a statement on ethics and principles and practices signed by all 9 justices that described the ethics rules as followed. They follow about travel, gifts, and outside income. The statement provided by Roberts said that the 9 justices reaffirm and restate the foundational ethics principles and practices to which they subscribe in carrying out their responsibility as members of the Supreme Court of the United States. The statement promised at least some small additional disclosure when one or more among them opts to not take part in a case, but the justices have been inconsistent in doing so since. Why? Because it's not mandatory. It's optional. I mean, make no mistake. This is bullshit. Okay, to put it quite bluntly. If there are no means of enforcement, because there is desperately a necessity for having a enforceable code of ethics. In fact, every other level of the judiciary in this country has a code of ethics, and more importantly, has an enforceable code of ethics, except for the Supreme Court, which is wild to me. So this is just smoke and mirrors. This just is nothing at the end of the day. Any type of like, oh well, trust us. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. SCOTUS is attempting to do damage control. Yeah, it's attempting to do damage control, but like it's not working, right? It's not gonna. This is not gonna be sold to anybody. Because ultimately, if there's no way of like enforcing, any type of rules or laws or whatever, then it's pointless, right? Like you can't. There's no checks if somebody violates this supposed code of ethics. Like what happens when a justice decides that these are just suggestions, right? I don't have to do this. So for all intents and purposes, it's useless. Do any of the justices follow the optional reporting? No. No. And we know this because the only reason any of this was found out was because of investigative journalism. No one is above corruption, that's correct. But the 9 law wizards have decreed. They have spoken. Alright, so I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to get up because I've been told to get up, and I'm going to bring the mandolin so I can do two things at once. Alright, give me 1 second, folks. Let it be known that I am getting up. And I'm going to grab the mandolin. Just give me a second. Alright. I would be impressed if it only take 1 second. No. It took me a moment, alright? Maybe I should say just give me a moment. Would that be better? Let's see if I can cook something up here. It's getting close. Do you know Ripple? No. Do you know Wonderwall? I actually do on the guitar. Funny enough, I actually do know that. But that's on the guitar. Do I even know how to transpose that? I don't know how the exact chords would even work. You need a random redeem a guitar song option. Yeah, but that would require me like learning a whole bunch of songs. And yeah. I know like very few complete front to back songs. I know a lot of different bits and pieces of a lot of different songs, but to play like whole complete songs, that would require me to be good, okay? Ooh, bad. Okay, so that's one part, right? Yeah, I guess I could use that. I feel like that does go, right? I almost had it, but yeah, I think that's it. I think that's a nice little riff. Look at that. I could hear this in the background of a video game like Rayman. Now that is a throwback. I used to love playing Rayman. But yeah, I think that actually sounds pretty cool. I'm actually quite pleased with that. There are new games now. It's pretty fun. Cool. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be the riff. Okay, I'll remember this one for next time. By the way, every time Rayman Legends, gotcha. Every time I do like one of these riffs, they're always different. They may use like similar chords, but they're always different. So I think I'm gonna keep that one too. Eventually, I'm gonna find a certain combination by being forced to actually play this that will all go together. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Well, yeah, there you go. That's the riff for today. I also need to expand my chord knowledge because I'm just like going off vibes. Okay. Like some of them I know they're actual chords, but yeah. Some of it is just vibes. Thank you for making me pick up the mandolin. It's the only way I'm gonna learn. All right, folks, I got to get going. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat. Well, stop coming in at the last minute, but that's okay. That's okay. You can just join us in the raid. Thank you for all the subscriptions, the gifted subs, the biddies. Thank you so much. You guys are what makes the channel grow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, Michael Hassler, Heat. Thank you guys. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. And also, if you guys haven't done so, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the big red subscribe button, and as 248 if you have already done. Thank you guys so much. And one final thing, join the Discord to keep up with the channel. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya.
Change on the subway train. Looking
All right, hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.